In the name of Allah, peace be upon you.
Thank you very much
for the introduction. I think I will go directly to the presentation because I think I only have a few minutes for presentation. But I work for the Office of the Vice President in Indonesia, and he is also the chairman of the national team for the acceleration of poverty reductions. So this is the idea started from there when this government, actually our president Yudhoyono, Bambang Yudhoyono, the same name with me, but there is no connection with him. But so my name pronunciation is Bambang, yeah, Bambang Widianto. So in 2005, when Bambang Yudhoyono started taking over the government, he is the first president which is come from a direct election. Yeah. In 2005, the fuel price was increased a lot at that time. So we want to increase, but on the other hand also try to give compensation. So if I can give you a little bit background, we have this poverty number figures, which is still big in 2014. Yeah. If you see, the trend is always going down, but the rate is getting slower and slower during the 5 years, during the last 5 years. So this is a challenge because when you are going to set up a compensation system, you need to know about these figures. And like other developing countries, this is our consumption distributions. Our consumption distribution is skewed to the left, and the blue one is the poverty line. So what does it means? It means that when you change the poverty line a little bit, a lot of people will be falling below the poverty line because it is skewed to the left, the distributions. So beside the poor living under the poverty line, we also have what we call it the vulnerables, which is make up 40% of the population. 40% in Indonesia means almost 100 million. So it's the vulnerable in Indonesia is the same with the size of all population of Egypt. Yeah. And this is the growth of our consumptions. So you can see on the left side is the poorest, on the right side is the richest. So you see the growth of their consumption is very different. The poorest only enjoy like 2% of growth, and on the most right enjoy almost 10% of growth. So above the average of growth. So this is the seed of inequality in Indonesia right now. So that's why we want to help the one who really poor and only grow around 2%. And this is just background information. You know, our fuel price is the lowest in the region. Yeah? And as confirmed by your presentation yesterday, it is, you know, fuel subsidy is, you know, almost 40% of the richest people enjoys more than, you know, 60% more of the subsidy, and the poorest only enjoy like less than 5%. So this is really unfair. And, compared to other expenditures, the subsidy for fuel and electricity is very high, is 20% of our budget. You can see the expenditure for health, for health and social assistance, and even infrastructure is lower than the expenditure for subsidy. Okay, so we know this is unfair and so on. Yesterday we already discussed it. Yeah. So we are going to shift to more targeted programs. In 2005 we start this. We desperate to increase the fuel price. So this is the kind of program that we have in mind when we try to give as a compensation program. One is the unconditional cash transfers. But this one, we only give this temporary, we only give this for 1 year. And we have the other program, conditional cash transfers, Rise for the Poor, education and health, which is, all of these are social assistance based on household. And we give this, should be for life. And there are programs also for rural infrastructures and also community-based development program. Yeah. This is a little bit background story. Our colleague from Egypt already mentioned about this yesterday. Yeah. You can use mean testing, you can use geographical targeting, you can use community-based targeting, or you providing benefits to those recognized as belonging to a specific groups, or you can also do self-targeting. Yeah. So this is example. No, if you want to specify vulnerable groups, for example, the most poor, or orphans, homeless, isolated tribal communities, mentally ill, displaced population, whatever you think it is important to be compensated. And this is the example of self-targeting in 2008, because unlike Egypt, which is using LPGs already from before, in Indonesia, most people, especially the poor, using the kerosene. And kerosene at that time, we heavily subsidized. So we want to move from kerosene into LPG, because at that time it was not subsidized. So we create a small bottles of 3 kilos, which is we give it free to the poor households, small restaurants, food vendors, and other micro businesses. At the start, the bottle is free and the gas is also free, but for the next round, they need to buy the gas. Yeah. So in 2005, we have a skeleton of our database. We do it less than 6 months at the time, so it was very poor quality of our database, but we use that database to distribute our cash transfers. But at the end, with that kind of data, only 30% of the poor people receive simultaneously this 3 program. So it means there are a lot of mistargeting. So we want to improve this. So on the second term, when President Yudhoyono and the Vice President took office for the second term, we started to try to improve the database. Yeah. So how you do it? When I show you the figures of poverty, it means 28 million people living under the poverty and so on, and you can say that 11% is under the poverty line. But all of this is aggregate data. means you cannot use that data for targeting. If you want to do targeting, whether you like it or not, you need to have this list of household, the name and the addresses of the household. So there is no other way that you should go there. You should go door to door to do the survey. It's not a sampling. You should be go door to door. But you need to find a smart way that you don't need to go to every household, because otherwise it will be very, very expensive. So you need to have what we call it initial list, which is hopefully we can reduce from 100% into only like 50% of the number of households, so it will be cheaper. So, you know, if there is a real estate complex, maybe we don't need to go there. If there is a minister house, we don't need to go there. So we only survey the one that really poor. So how we get the initial list from? So we get it from the individual data from other programs, also consultation with the poor, because at the beginning in 2005, we consult the leaders of the villages, and the result is not that good. It's very biased. They took their friends and so on. Yeah? So we did an experiment. It's helped by the JPAL MIT from the US. You know, we do small experiments, and then the result is, if you want to consult it directly to the poor families. Okay? And then with that list, initial list, which is only like 40 to 50% out of the whole household, the Office of the Statistics do the collection of the data, do the survey. Yeah? But after they do the survey, you know, they survey, they take a note of all of the characteristics of the household. For example, the type of the roof, the type of the wall, and so on. But with that kind of data, you cannot know whether this household is below or above the poverty line. So you need to do another things, which is the PMT models. Yeah? So you can know what is the position of that household. And that, after that, we call it the unified database. Yeah? So this is actually, now in Indonesia we have 40% names and addresses of the lowest social economic condition of the household. 40%, from the lowest up to 40%. As I mentioned before, our poverty line is 11.6. So this is the poverty line, but we have the data up to 40%. So this is the vulnerable here. Yeah? But when we want to compensate, we increased the fuel price last year. When we want to compensate, the parliament only agree 25%. Yeah. So a lot of problem, a lot of challenge, if I may say, in the field. You know, if you have the money, you will give the money to both of the houses. The thing is, the problem, the challenge is, what if you need to pick which household is you need to be given the subsidy? If you look at these houses, you tend to say that the left one you will give the subsidy. Yeah. Again, if you have all the money, you can give both of them. But if you want to pick, this is the way we do it. So this house, the father is what you call it is an informal workers. Yeah. On that side, the worker is a teacher. Yeah. So at first glance, this household will receive the subsidy. Yeah. But if you look more deeply, you see that this is the wife is a teacher, only have one kid. This one, the wife is a regular housewife, and they have more kids. So the computer pick the right one to be given the subsidy. Yeah. So I want to skip because I don't have time. So when you get this kind of data, you need to manage that. We want to make sure that any ministries and agencies using the same data, using the same source of data to do or to implement their social assistance program. We have provinces government, we have district government also, and sometimes they have their own program. So if a national program like health, education, and so on, they have to use what we call it, the unified database. But provinces, sometimes they have their own program, so they can come to our office and then consult with us. I have this program, what kind of data, what kind of household that we need to be subsidized. And all consultation, we give it free. Yeah? So, and this is the card that we give. We're giving card to 25% of the lowest, I mentioned before, because the parliament only agree on 25%. And this is the embryo of the one card can be used for several programs. At the beginning, we give cash transfers, we give scholarship, we give rice, and we give also health program. So all of that program using the same unified database, using the same card. But this card is household based, so it's not an individual card. So they can bring this card to the school, and any single kids, we will give the scholarships. Yeah? So if you see there are barcode there, so the post office can scan the barcode and we know which one already take the money, which one haven't taken the money. Yeah? And not only that, the other challenge is, what if someone complain about whether they feel they are poor but didn't get the card. So there are a mechanism of complaint. We use the village level, we call it village level deliberation, which is they can discuss which one should be in, which one should be out, because certainly there is inclusion error and certainly there are exclusion error. So this system has been successfully changed almost 300,000 households. Yeah. So we also have this online complaint service. So this is on computer, this is an SMS system. They can send an SMS and read by the computer. And we receive 174,000 complaints, but we only process 90,000. But after that, they also can reply. If we answer, they can reply. So the one that not reply anymore is only like, we call it complete, finish, is 80,000. So the system let the people to complain until they satisfied. Yeah? I just want, this is a little bit story about the unconditional cash transfer. I want to skip this. I think this is just, basically this is just giving a cash for 1 year. And I think this is the biggest cash transfer in Indonesia because it's involved 15.5 million households, which is almost 60 million people. Yeah? And this is how we calculate how much money we should give. So cash transfers, we only use it for compensate the increase of the fuel price. So the rule of thumb is we only give 20% out of their consumption, because otherwise they will not work if we compensate 100%. Yeah, so this is, we calculate the figures, and then this is, we're using PT POS, and this is the evaluation because there are long queuing times, where we also want to know whether this money used for basic necessities or not, or we also want to know whether it's reduced their working hours. It's happened to be not, because again, it's only 20% out of their consumption, so we don't compensate everything. Yeah? And this is assistance for the scholarship. Why it is important in Indonesia? Because if you see from these figures, the red one is the poorest. So there are a lot of dropout between primary school and secondary high school. Yeah, that's one. And the second one is, before, only 10% of the poor people receive the assistance. The rest are mistargeting. So we try to use the card to improve this targeting. Yeah, and before, the one that nominate someone who received the assistance is the school. So it was school-based. And now we change that with the card, we call it household based. Using the card, 16.6 million students. Yeah. So the parents with that card came to the school. How many kids they have, they will get the scholarship. Scholarship in Indonesia, actually this is for primary school, actually only a pocket money, because everything actually already free. Yeah? So with this card, we want to improve that, and a lot of resistance, because now the school cannot, can be challenged by the parents to get the card. Yeah? So at the beginning it's only 44%, now increasing 62%. Hopefully today is higher than this, but we are already happy with 62%. Yeah. But the most important thing is this. Before, the targeting is only like this, so only less than 10%. I mentioned 5% for first decile and second decile receive the scholarship. But with the card, with the better targeting, it's only move like this. So we are very happy with that, because it's improving our targeting system. Then we also have some, this is, I think I want to stop there because the time is up. Again, I would like to say thank you very much. I was very excited when the banks called me to share our experience, but it turns out to be that after 1.5 days sitting with you, that I am the one who learned more from all of you. So again, thank you very much.